Drop the Tea Party. That's the call from Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid to his Republican colleagues. Reid says it's time to rebuild America by working together to create jobs. And he claims the only way to do that is to, quote, leave the Tea Party extremism behind.
I hope that the Tea Party doesn't have the influence in this next year they had in the previous year. I hope that the Republicans will understand, as I think they learned in the last week of last year, that they can't be led over the cliff by this extremism that's in the Republican Party.
So the State of the Union address.
All I ask is for the Republicans to understand what legislation is all about.
Here for a fair and balanced debate now is David Webb. He's the host of David Webb Show and co-founder of Tea Party 365. And Sally Cohn, movementvision.org, and a Fox News contributor. This is her first official debut as a Fox News contributor. Congratulations.
Thank you, Allison. Thank
now
you.
you'll have to work even harder.
I'm glad to be part of the family. Thank
Happy
you.
to have you. Okay, so let's go back to what Harry Reid said. David, is there any grain of truth? Has the Tea Party at some times been too extreme and not worked towards compromise?
Well, if you call extreme wanting fiscal discipline, wanting a government that's limited, effective, and constitutional, I'm going to go with extreme. But you know what? Get the defibrillator out and check Harry Reid for a pulse, because this is the same guy who has refused to let 17 bills passed in the House even come up in committee. This is a guy who has blocked it. And by the way, the $5 trillion spent, he refers to the last Congress, by the Pelosi-Reid Congress. That was 2006 to 2010. Then we got Obama and we got steroidal spending, stimulus, HAMP program, auto bailouts, multiple failures. Now they're pushing another Fannie and Freddie program down to the lenders, and they've come out with Richard Cordray and all these unelected bureaucrats. Yet we shouldn't compromise with bad legislation. And this is what we've gotten out of the Obama administration. Unemployment where it is, the job situation where it is. They are not providing any reason to work with a socialist agenda, which is what Harry Reid believes in.
Wow.
Sally's itching to get in here.
Yeah, if David's done throwing the kitchen sink at the president, look, I actually
I'm talking about Harry Reid, Sally.
It's less interesting what David or I think. It's more interesting what the American people think. And the American people have spoken clearly and resoundingly in poll after poll after poll, saying that they believe that the Republican Party is not only obstructing any legislative progress in Congress, but actually seeking to sabotage the economy in order to help Barack Obama's reelection prospects.
That's what
we're talking about.
I can't listen to that.
I'm just quoting the American people.
Here's the reality. Let's quote the reality instead. Republicans and conservatives don't want dirty air, dirty water. We don't want children not having schools to go to. We want firefighters and policemen to be employed. This is what
David,
comes out of the left. She's quoting citing polls. I'm citing reality. You want to talk about obstruction? Harry Reid didn't let 17 bills come to the floor.
David,
that's real obstruction.
David, the reality is, let's take a very clear real example that the that the American people are very in touch with, which is that the Republican Party said that they wanted to, excuse me, I'm talking. The Republican Party said they wanted to extend tax breaks for the richest of the richest of the rich, who are already faring well in this economy, excuse me, and meanwhile didn't want to extend unemployment payments and didn't want to extend payroll taxes for the middle class.
Hold on, David. I have a question.
Now, you tell me that's not obstructionism when you can't come together to compromise.
But I do have a question for you, Sally, because when Harry Reid says that the Republicans are engaged in, quote, obstructionism on steroids, is that helpful rhetoric? Is that a new dawn in D.C. when their lawmakers are going to come back? Is that the kind of language that he thinks is going to help compromise?
You know what? I'll be honest. I think that at this point in time, that's all they have left, the Democrats, is rhetoric, because they have tried. And I was one of the first people to say they were too conciliatory in the beginning, saying, all right, we'll extend the payroll, tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires so that we can give tax breaks to working people. They were the first ones. Democrats were overly conciliatory and trying to say we will compromise so that we can get something done, and Republicans wouldn't refuse to even pass their own ideas when they came out of the mouths of Democrats.
Let's talk reality by the numbers here.
What's your response? What she said?
Okay, payroll tax holiday, right? $1,000, about $83.33 a month, if you do the math. America, really, $83 a month matters much? It doesn't improve the job situation.
Maybe it doesn't matter to you, but it matters to a lot of working people.
It doesn't give the employer the break they need, and it's the employer who hires and pays.
So you think that was a mistake? Okay,
It's
so
a
you think
farce
that
on both
Republicans
sides.
should have dug in their heels, as they tried to do before the Christmas holiday,
Yeah.
and they shouldn't have given two more months extension.
What does Washington do on both sides around Christmas? They do something that feels good, when in fact it does nothing. The president had a year of the payroll tax holiday. Jobs did not improve.
But
that's fact.
David,
I'm not citing polls
David,
and
the
some
reality
innocuous
is
American.
But David, the reality is we've had 6 years of historic tax cuts for the wealthy and for business, and they're now paying the lowest percentage of their taxes that they've paid in the last 30 years, and that hasn't created jobs. So the question is, you're saying, no, it'd be better to put a few $1 million in the pockets of big business and the wealthy than a few $1,000s in the pockets of the working class.
Sally, little economic lesson.
But David, I'm not even
tax cuts
arguing.
for corporations
David,
subsidize losses. They don't go after
Hold on, Sally.
gains.
Let him make your.
All right.
So
tax
yes,
cuts for corporations it's for losses. Okay, so let's take that off the table because it's not the real economic picture she's trying to paint. Number two, if we don't have an environment where we lower corporate tax rates, where we allow them to hire, where we allow Main Street, by the way, by lowering those tax rates, which allows them to hire, we will not get this take from the one side and give to the other.
Let me let Sally respond.
I mean,
Go ahead,
look, I hate to trouble you with those pesky facts, but we have the lowest percentage of real corporate tax rate in the developed world already. In addition to that, Republicans want to lower it further. In addition to that, corporations are sitting on $2 trillion in unspent money, and they're not creating jobs. So your big corporate,
hold on, we have to leave it there.
Your big business job fairy hasn't appeared, and meanwhile. Businesses are saying,
you know what, guys, we're going to have to leave it there.
But you got to create demand, put money in the hands of working people.
Sally needs a course in basic economics, okay? The trillions sitting on the sidelines are from corporations who can't spend here in America.
Here's what I'm getting from
The conversation was
this.
about obstructionism.
If you guys are a
work
microcosm of the country, liberal versus conservative, I'm not sure it's going to be a new day when the lawmakers come back.
Well,
Allison, I'm optimistic. If people like David and I could have a conversation, and at the end of the day, when the cameras are off, say, all right, I'm willing to give on this if you're willing to give on this.
I'm not willing to give on bad policies, Sally. I'm sorry. You come up with these ridiculous progressive trends
this is where it's a
that have not worked in any country.
Democrats are willing to compromise, and Republicans have been obsessed.
Take it to the green room. Let's take it to the green room.
I don't compromise on bad policy, neither should the Republicans.
David Webb, Sally Cohn.
Always
Great to see you guys.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.